Candy.
Good morning.
I noticed as I opened up my notes for today, this is our last episode of the year.
What?
I hate it. Because we get a little Christmas break.
How is this year over already?
I know. We're in a time warp.
No, I saw something the other day that said expires by, I don't know, something like 2021. And I was like, oh, this doesn't expire for another year. And then I was like, wait a second!
Yeah.
This is already expired!
That's one of my least favorite things about the pandemic is just how, like, time, we lost time.
What even is time?
Who are we? Why are we here?
What does it all mean?
Let's figure out the meaning of life real quick.
God, I had a moment of just sadness when I saw this chart. I think it was floating around the internet or something, but it was a list of grades for school, and it said if your child is in third grade, it said here's the last year when he had a normal school year.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Right.
If you're in third grade, you've never had a normal year.
Not once. Can you believe stolen childhood? I know. And, like, the moment we get, like, complacent or think, like, okay, we're almost out of the woods, then the next variant comes along. We just got a letter from his school, like, someone in Lincoln's class has COVID. Oh, God. It's just like, nuts. Right. But thankfully, he is vaccinated, and shout out to the scientists.
Shout out to science. I always think about Larry Brilliant when he was on here. And I think about how grateful I am for that episode of our podcast that we did right before this really got crazy.
Yeah.
And how
he's incredible.
He was really helpful in me understanding him and you. Helpful in understanding how serious it was.
He just posted on Twitter or something that the Omicron variant is the most infectious, contagious respiratory illness in human history.
Oh!
It's like,
my God.
Larry.
Well, and if he says it, I'm like, right. Fact. Fucking fact.
That doesn't mean it's the worst one or the most deadly.
It's the most contagious. Which means everybody, you're just going to fucking get it.
I was like, Larry, shh, it's the holidays.
Look at us kicking off our holiday episode or last episode of the year with a little bit of gloom and doom.
I know. Okay, well, it's time for a little documentary roundup.
Yes.
Documentary roundup.
That's what I see, kind of like the more you know kind of thing that CBS, like the more you know, the documentary roundup, and there's like a little bring.
Yeah, can we work on that?
I see it.
Where's our music director?
Yeah, who's that? Who is that person?
So I watched a documentary about Kenny G, Sarah, and I know what you're thinking. Susie, you've now watched every documentary that has ever been made. You have run out of topics.
Oh, God.
But
was it good?
It was so good.
Really?
Yes.
Tell me what was the most surprising. I feel like Kenny G is somebody who maybe gets hate but doesn't deserve it.
Well, he gets
like not hate but like slack. Like people give him like a hard time.
People love teasing Kenny G.
Yeah.
He is a bit of a mockery. But so the funny thing about it is he's very likable, of course, and he's sort of in on the joke. Like he gets it. He's not.
Oh, hang on. My tea's going off.
Oh,
I forgot that I put tea on a long time ago.
Yeah, go get it.
Tea kettle's going.
I love that it's like old-timey.
It's so old-timey. Pardon the tea kettle. That's why it takes forever. And I was
Did we also go back in time?
I didn't. I forgot to take my meds today. So who knows what else will go off in the middle of this session.
Just get ugly. It's tea time for Sarah.
Yeah. Okay, back to Kenny G.
Okay. I have so much to say, if you can believe it. Okay, but it was great because they had all these jazz scholars on that, like, can't stand him, of course, and, like, are so annoyed by him, which was very funny. Well, okay, so a lot of it is sort of like just an eye roll, not a big deal. But I think that the fair thing that they said that is legitimate is that Kenny G, if you want to call him jazz, I mean, that's a stretch. But I mean, that is kind of, he doesn't really fit into a genre.
I would say smooth jazz.
Yeah, smooth jazz. But like, they were saying, listen, these black jazz artists, this is a long tradition of like a white artist just stylizing what black men or black artists have innovated. And then the white guy getting rich off of it. That's definitely it. There have been so many black guys in freaking New Orleans. You can walk down the street and probably find somebody who's as talented as Kenny G playing right there. And I think the thing that really kind of grinds the thing in is that he doesn't really acknowledge those guys. And okay, this is how I saw it. Do you remember when Elizabeth Warren got that DNA test and announced that she was like part Native American? For Pete's sake, yeah, that was annoying. And the Native Americans were like, listen, this being a Native American isn't about blood. It's about culture and history and family and oral tradition and stuff. Yeah. So, like, it kind of feels like that, where jazz is a call and answer. Like, you're always supposed to be in conversation with, like, John Coltrane and the guys that built it. You're supposed, because when you hear a jazz song, it has, like, a scaffolding, but you improvise. That's the nature of it. So you're supposed to be, like, using those techniques and kind of acknowledging all these guys that made it amazing. And then I thought this analogy was so cool. So the guy was like, okay, he was like trying to figure out why he's so annoyed with Kenny G. And he's like, okay, imagine, so there's basketball, right? There's LeBron James, and he's like amazing, and he has such talent, and he works so hard, and he makes it perfect. And then you have like the Harlem Globetrotters, right? Yes. And they are so fun, and they do all these cool tricks, and they spin the ball, and they entertain, and it's amazing. That, is Kenny G. But also, now imagine if everyone preferred the Globetrotters. That is a really good analogy. Right? It really makes it make sense. And everyone's because sort of is kind of like, but I feel like, okay, you're right, because it doesn't matter what we classify him as. It's him profiting off of it. Right. It's because, like, who cares? In my mind, I was like, yeah, but I think maybe he is kind of seen as a novelty act. Yeah, it doesn't matter when you're sitting in, you can call me whatever the fuck you want, sitting in my nice-ass house and my, millions and millions of dollars. Like, yeah. Well, so then, in the documentary, the filmmaker said, what do you say to these people that kind of, like, let's just say you're, like, privileged and that because you're white, you were able to make this huge career, but all these black guys couldn't. So he goes, I never really thought about it, which I could not believe. What do you mean? Right? You've never thought about it. And he seemed sincere. Like, he was sort of like, I never thought about the color of my skin because you don't have to, Kenny. But he said, let me think. So would Clive Davis have signed me if I were a black saxophonist? Probably. I think he would have. Would I have been played on pop radio? Probably not, right? Because black artists are always relegated only to urban stations, to R&B stations, whereas the white artists can make it on both. Yeah, they can be on pop, they can be on R&B. And so, like, he goes, I probably did, that was privilege. I probably did benefit from that. You think? I was like, probably. I don't understand what the resistance to admitting that there's privilege is. I think that I cracked the case. Tell me, please. Because, listen, this is bonkers. At the beginning, they said, what do you love best about music, right? He goes, what do I love best about music? I don't really love music. What? Listen. Is he a fucking alien? He goes, I realize he just loves excellence. He's really talented. He's a very good player. But he didn't, it could have been anything. He just happened to play the sax. Is he on the spectrum? No, I think he's on the white spectrum. Where these guys think, because they practice really hard and they work really hard, that then it wasn't privilege. I mean, we all have this blind spot.
Okay, I see. So he doesn't see how he's getting a head start over here?
Right.
And has some, like, and doesn't have to jump over the hurdles in the race, and other people in the other lanes have hurdles?
He just didn't, because he never really had to think about that.
Man. I don't know if I've seen it in women as much. I'm trying to think of a time where I was trying to talk about a woman and her privilege, and she was like blind to it.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of white guys like this who really do work hard, and you can't say that they don't, but just really think that that's all it takes, and not realizing there weren't any hurdles in the way.
Yeah.
Okay,
man.
so then
that shocks me, because I really feel like in the jazz, that is so... I feel like that's not a music community where it's predominantly white, right?
No, and they really do not. Most of them really get annoyed with him.
Yeah, but like, I can't believe he's never been told this or shown this before.
That's like, what seemed like
until the documentary in 2021, or what?
He was shielded from that? Okay.
Right. And you had that long curly hair and nobody said anything?
He did say, well, he is Jewish. I mean, it's a Jew fro, but he did say, like, listen, I get the joke. I know that if I cut my hair, my career would be over. Like,
really?
So, yeah, like, he knows that it's all like a package of nonsense.
Oh my God! In my mind, he's cut his hair. It's kind of like Alex Trebek shaving his mustache. I feel like everybody was just doing that. Like
Michael Bolton did. Maybe you're thinking of him.
I'm thinking Michael Bolton.
Yeah.
You're 100% correct.
And thank God, because that mullet, that was...
Oh, God, that's funny in my brain. Now I have to really... Wow. Put those two... split screen those guys for a sec.
And like Kenny G does all this stuff. Like he does circular breathing, which if you're not familiar, is like where you just breathe while you're playing, which is so hard to do. Yeah. And he's in the Guinness World Book of Records for holding the note the longest. And that was another example of like the Globetrotter thing, where like every jazz musician can do circular breathing, but he does it for like a party trick and for like a Guinness World Record. You know what I mean?
Oh, man, when he was younger, he was fucking cute.
I mean, he did have a little bit of sex appeal there.
I mean, we're talking young. I'm looking at this, like first album that he did. He's got, like, this curly hair, like, tossed to the side kind of thing.
You'd like to run your fingers through that jungle.
Kenny G all of a sudden. What is happening right now? I must be ovulating. This isn't usual.
Sarah.
Hold on. Let me Google Michael Bolton.
That's hilarious. Okay, the last thing I'll say about Kenny G is, this is so friggin' cool. In China, at quitting time, 5 p.m., in all the town squares around China, they all choose to play a Kenny G song called Going Home as like, hey, it's quitting time, on the public speakers in the town square. So it's like constantly on.
Kenny G every day.
They were saying, like, what do you think it is? And the scholars were like, well, Kenny G's songs aren't protesting anything. They're not, making any statements. So it's like the music of consent. And then, then they had this Chinese guy on. I think he was a music scholar. And he said, well, in China... The traditional music doesn't use the tones fa or ti, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do.
Oh.
They don't use fa and ti. Like in their national anthem, those tones aren't there. And is also not really present in Kenny G's music. So it sounds similar to what they're used to.
Why?
Isn't that wild? I don't... Well, it's just like sort of a style of music that doesn't use those notes very often. But I didn't know that, and that's really fun.
That's so fun. I don't know anything about music.
Well, you know what you like.
You do.
That's all that counts.
But when we were reading the book on How to Change Your Mind that talked about psychedelics, and it talked about, there was a part that I highlighted and I wrote in notes, Susie has this. And it was like a different way to hear tones of music. Like you hear, I can't remember what it is, but I know you have this 100%.
When we were in our book club meeting and you said, like, have any of you guys have these sort of experiences like transcendence? And I had said church, but we also were talking about music. I mean, a lot of people just have that when they listen to music and they feel that sense of like awe and whatever.
So cool. But I don't feel that about the notes.
Well, and I don't feel it when I listen to Kenny G, but maybe some people
really
do.
I think it's exactly right. It's like that music of consent. It's the off-white paint, like of and like khaki pants.
It's
and
just fine.
Helvetica.
Yes.
Or Times New Roman of.
It doesn't challenge you. It's just soothing. And it's almost like it's not there.
Yes, it's not there. You wouldn't even notice if it weren't.
Wouldn't you love to listen to Kenny G and smoke some dad grass?
Susie.
Yeah.
Yes. I was thinking about, you know what's funny? I was like writing a commercial for dad grass the other day in my mind as I was just like, you know.
Getting mellow.
Are you looking for the mellow high?
Right.
I come to my mom for a lot of things. Advice and weed.
Right. For real, because you don't want to be too damn high, right?
No.
You want to be just chill.
Mellow.
And thanks to Dadgrass, it's possible for all of us because these babies can be shipped anywhere in the country. They are TSA approved. They are 100% organic pre-rolled joints, very low in THC, so it's not going to make you kooky, and high in CBD, so you're just getting a nice clear head.
Just a nice, mellow feel.
I mean, what is that?
And let's talk about the packaging.
So cool.
Like the
really
coolest.
Cute. And funny. And like with a wink, which I love.
I love it. Makes me want to like roll it up in my white sleeved shirt.
Yeah. Like Schneider.
Yeah.
The handyman. I mean, you guys, okay, last call before Christmas. Get this deal. Stocking stuffer. Right now, Dadgrass is offering our listeners 20% off your first order when you go to dadgrass.com/braincandy. Go to dadgrass.com/braincandy for 20% off your first order. That's dadgrass.com/braincandy. Such a cute gift.
Yes.
Or for yourself. I mean, who are we kidding?
Yeah, man.
Okay, anyway, Kenny G was great. I loved it. And now you know.
Yes. I'm into the music documentaries. You've been like big into music documentaries lately.
I can't stop.
Yeah. I'm a little bit behind you. I think I'm just now starting to get into the sports ones. So talk to me in 6 months and I'll be listening to the music ones.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I'll spare you guys, but for some episodes coming up, I watched the ZZ Top one. I watched DMX one.
Oh,
I mean,
cool. Look at you.
Real good. Yeah, I'm on top of it.
I love it.
I do the work, so you don't have to. Yeah. Okay, moving on. I had read this. I wondered if you would be into it. It sounded like something you would like. In the New Yorker, they did this article about the new luxury vacation is like paying a ton of money and then they call it get lost, where they just take you somewhere in the world, dump you there, and then you have to like get out in a certain amount of time on your own. Well, so it's like an escape room, but
I fucking love this.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
Tell me
this
what
is what
you
I would
love
want.
about it.
This is my dream vacation.
For real.
I am this person. I am who this is made for.
Tell me about
Susie,
what that would feel like.
All I want to do is... I get this. I'm totally into this. Mm-hmm. I want to be put in like a safe survival situation.
Oh, okay.
Like, but also... Okay, let's think about what a vacation is. Mm-hmm. A vacation is a break from the norm.
Yeah, check that box.
You know, and you get to experience a life that you don't get to maybe have on the regular. Mm-hmm. I think that, you know how whenever we talk about crazy, stupid shit that somebody did, you're always like, is this a white guy? And we're like, yep. Because you're like, you're so privileged that at this point you're like, okay, how do I like I don't know, push the limits for myself?
Yeah.
I think it kind of falls into that category of like, you you don't want to.
You have to simulate difficulties.
Yeah. And it almost like experience something that's not your day to day. Oh, how, like, Kenny used to always laugh. Kenny from the Challenge used to always tease me about my love for camping because he was like, why would I want to go pretend that I'm homeless? Like, and people who have maybe struggled with housing don't go camping. Like, it's like a privilege to get to go live outside.
That's true. Okay.
So I feel like it's kind of like this, where it's like, oh, how privileged. You get to go do a survivally, like, you get to struggle because that's like the opposite of what you normally do.
Yeah, because they say no tent, no phone, and no matches.
This is essentially what I did. I paid to do this, Susie. This is what I did in Colorado.
Right. But it was safe.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't actually feel like... But, I mean, it is kind of dangerous still.
I had a guide there, but...
Yeah, but, like, if you have a snake encounter or something...
Yeah. I was also informed 2 days afterwards, oh, yeah, there are definitely mountain lions, and you won't hear them coming, and they'll just attack you. And we were sleeping with no tent, no nothing. Like,
would you have gone if you had known that? You probably would have still.
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Yeah.
So tell me what they do there.
So they just stick you in the middle of nowhere. It's like somewhere really spectacular, though. It's like Iceland, and then you're near the tectonic plates or whatever. And
so cool.
And then they're like, okay, see you in 3 days or something, and you have to find your way out. And then after you're done, you get to go to a real fancy pampering place.
This is great.
That's ideal for you.
Ideal.
This is $15,000 or something. Yeah, like all the tech bros do this.
Yeah, I get. Right. Oh, that makes sense.
Right.
See,
right, you were right.
It's that. I mean, and I think there's two different categories. There's like the people who want to do this. Like, I'm more into I don't need the fancy dinner afterwards. Like, more into
you love the satisfaction of doing it.
Yeah, and I don't need like the whole, like, nobody needs to arrange it. I'll just go out there and then, camp, whatever. But
nobody needs to arrange it.
I can see these guys needing, it's like they need like, this. Now that you said it's the tech guys, I can picture who does this, and it's like the guys who don't think that this is the new age alphas. Mm-hmm. Having to prove their alpha-ness in an
it's like
old
Joe
school
Rogan,
way.
Man.
Yes.
It is.
Okay. See, I'm more into the eco challenges. Mm-hmm. I mean, I get this, but as soon as you said tech bros, I can see what kind of person does this, and now I'm just like, oh, I'm annoyed now. Because these are the people who don't respect nature, I think.
Oh. Yeah.
These are the Everest, the people hiring Everest guides to go up. Mm-hmm. This is the I Want to Climb Everest group.
Right, I get it. Yeah.
Now I'm mad.
Oh.
Wow, that
took a turn.
That took a turn. I'm mad at them.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, right. I guess, and you have like a little button. If you have an emergency, you can push it. Kind of like a loan, really. That's
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be into it, but I guess there's a market for this sort of
Do you think Adam would be into it?
No.
Really?
Or maybe he would. I should ask him. I would.
Yeah. We're going to need to ask him. He said he would?
No, I'm saying, like, you think he would?
Well, I think if I would, I think he would. That's usually how things go around here.
True, but you have more of that thing where you, like, really get excited about figuring stuff out. Like, he likes doing that, but you get more of, like, the rush.
Yeah, I do.
He's very calm.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'll ask him. I'll get the scoop.
Yeah, I'm going to need to know that.
Okay.
I know you don't want to do that.
No, that doesn't appeal to me. But I know what you're saying. I get why it would be satisfying. It's just not worth it to me.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Birds Aren't Real update that I posted on it?
What update?
This is on our social. The New York Times did a story. Taylor Lawrence, who's a great journalist, she did this story about how the birds aren't real movement was like an intentional hoax to teach people about like misinformation and conspiracy theories.
Yeah, that then turned into a misinformation conspiracy theory.
I mean, do you think?
Do you think there are people who believe this?
Maybe a couple. I don't think a lot of people. I think if
the people
it became,
marching with the signs, you think they're in on it?
No, they were in on it. Yeah, that was all
Okay.
by design. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, they had a whole plan going on. So
did it work?
Okay, so just if you're not familiar, we talked on the show about this birds aren't real weirdness, where Sarah had seen like a billboard or something that said
what
birds
the fuck?
aren't real. And so she looked into it and was like, oh my God, these people think birds aren't real, that they were like killed in the 70s and then replaced with drones from the government. And we were, I mean, it sort of was like the flat earther thing where we were like, oh my God, like everyone's gone mad. And while that is true, everyone has gone mad. In this case, the movement was designed to be like a hoax.
I hate the person who did that.
Really?
I don't like, because I don't think that it did what it meant to do. Did it?
Okay.
I'm just annoyed. I'm not anymore. Here's what we would have to. I want to know if somebody who wasn't aware of misinformation before is now aware of misinformation through this. Like, what did this really do? Mm-hmm. I mean, a hoax feels better than a political statement.
Right. I'd rather it be a hoax than someone actually thinking birds aren't real.
Yeah, but I mean, they're doing this to make, like, a hoax is like, oh, we're making a joke. You know, it feels like a joke. Whereas, like, oh, we're doing this to make a statement. You know, we're trying to teach a lesson in here.
I think that's what they were doing.
Yeah,
You don't like that?
I feel like you failed. Because I feel like you made you showed how misinformation, how people believe stuff. Now what? We already fucking knew that. Mm-hmm. People believe shit since... I don't know. I'm a therapist. Maybe I just understand that, like, I'm, like, mad at those people.
Because you feel like it exploits the vulnerable.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I mean, I even think about the amount of energy that I spent on rolling my eyes at these ridiculous people.
Yeah.
Is annoying.
They wasted your time.
Yeah, that's, like, annoying to me. That, like, there are better ways to... You're not proving anything that we didn't already fucking know. Mm-hmm. Right?
Okay. Yeah. I guess I can see it both ways. It depends on what they do now with it.
Yeah.
They seem to not have terrible intentions. It was sort of like... It originally was a joke, and then when he saw people sort of embracing it, he was like, okay, let me do something intentional here. And he was like a method actor for 4 years. He never broke character until he came out in this article.
Oh, wow. Oh, so wow.
Like, he was insistent that he believed this and that it was real. But he did have an awareness about, like, the potential for a problem. So anyway, you get the gist. Birds are real.
Yeah, I'm still annoyed. I just don't like fake hoaxes. Or, like, I just don't like a hoax. You know why? Actually, I do know why. Because I'm too gullible.
Oh.
That's what this is. I feel like I've been tricked, and I don't like to be tricked.
Wow. Like, you take it personally.
Yeah, because, like, I didn't fall for believing birds are not real, but I fell for believing that there are people who believe that birds aren't real, and I don't like that.
Yeah, well...
Because, like, if people believe the earth is flat and we're on the back of a fucking turtle...
Yeah.
You think that seems like... Oh, okay, I understand how people would think that that's a thing, but... Oh, no, people thinking birds aren't real is crazy? No.
To me, that's what's angering, is that the reason it's believable is because we're in this dystopian situation where conspiracy theories are rife because people's lives are so miserable and they want to believe there's some sort of conspiracy when really it's just like the government and the system is rigged and it's always been, and that's the way it is. You know, like
Merry Christmas!
I can see why conspiracy theories are appealing to people like that, because then you think, well, okay, then it's these elaborate.
You know what? Do you think with the, you know, you've talked about on here about how we've moved away from like organized religion into more spirituality because people do want that, the questions answered and those kind of bigger things. Do you think we could seeing the rise of conspiracy theories for almost that same reason? A similar...
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, like the flip side to that coin of...
Yeah, like people are looking for meaning.
Yes.
But then they're also looking for like, why is the world so messed up? Yeah.
Yes. And in the same way we were like, oh, it's just the big guy in the sky, you know, 100 years ago. Now they're like, oh, it's probably just the government, you know, and it's like easier to wrap your mind around like, yeah, this is a conspiracy theory, then, you know, it's like the system, whatever it is.
But it's like, yeah, it is the government, but just in more boring ways that benefit rich people and stuff. Like, they don't have time for drones. Bird drones.
Right. They don't need bird drones to get everything accomplished.
Yeah, we have those phones that we carry around all the time tracking us.
Right. Oh, my Lord. Oh, God. I'm wearing a bra that's not a Third Love bra right now. And I think I need to fucking take it off.
That is tragic. That is a mistake.
I have to take it off.
She's taking it off.
I'm taking it off. It's too much. It's too much.
Well, I'll tell you what is just the right amount, and that is Stamps.com. Coming in clutch for me day in and day out.
Especially this time of the year. Hello.
Like, do you know how many times I've avoided having to go to the post office or even leave my house, period, because of Stamps.com? What are you waiting for?
Just that driveway you got to face alone would be reason enough for me to like be like, yeah, no, I'm out. Stamps.com.
We did get our driveway re-raveled. You'll be happy to know. But yeah, it's treacherous. So like if you want convenience and you want to save money, Stamps.com is the answer. You can ship anything you want to anywhere you want and get discounts on UPS rates and USPS rates. Ideal. Okay, so just try it. Like, make this like your New Year's thing. Like, okay, I'm going to get my life in order. I'm not going to have to go to the post office. Save time and money this holiday season with Stamps.com. Sign up with a promo code Brain Candy for a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, free postage, and a digital scale. No long-term commitments or contracts. Just go to Stamps.com, click the microphone at the top of the page, and enter code Brain Candy.
I had to do some work for my mom to get some like papers filed for her residency and things like that. Stamps.com made it so... You know how those things are kind of designed to like be hard so that you don't do it, and then the time passes, and then like you have to pay all the... I know that they're designed for that. I was like, no problem.
Yeah.
Did everything I needed to do. With the self-addressed, you have to put like a self-addressed envelope in there with it, so I was able to like self-address it, print it out. It was like so easy.
If you guys hear any hammering, it's just a bunch, literally, of Amish men on my roof giving us a new roof.
Are they really Amish men?
Yeah, didn't I tell you that?
Yeah, but I thought you were kidding.
Oh, no, they're Amish.
Oh,
why would I kid? Why would
Susie, I don't know. I thought you were just like saying like
Here,
I thought, you know what it was? You. My mind went to Fiddler on the Roof instead of oh my gosh, it's Jebediah.
I just showed her. There's 3.
Abraham and Jebediah on Susie's roof.
One of them is named Abe.
I knew it.
One of them is named Noah.
Okay. I could have guessed maybe an Ezekiel in there.
No, but I think there is even an Adam. You know, like they pepper in the, you know.
Yes.
New Testament. Or no, that's Old Testament. No, but yeah, they are the best in the area.
Yeah. I understand. I get it.
It's
woodworking. Like that's who you want. Construct, building.
They don't
hammer nails, and you're gonna get it done in like with quality craftsmanship. None of this like, you know how we were talking about long johns? Susie and I sent a picture to Susie the other day, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, where'd you get those long johns that like waffle print? I'm looking for that."
Yeah,
and I was like, "Nah, you don't want these. This is like fake." Like long johns, it looks like it, but it's like the modern twist is essentially just waffle print fabric.
Yeah.
Bullshit. So I feel like these Amish roofers are going to be the old-timey wool long johns of the construction world versus the, $7 Old Navy long john shirt that is not keeping anybody warm and may not last a season.
Yeah, those oldies, the ones like from back in the day, those are the real deal. But now everyone's just faking it. Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, I wanted to ask you this. Okay. I'm sure you've heard of these. Like people have plunge pools.
Yeah.
Like the really deep.
Cold dip. Yes.
And even like, I think people have like plunge tubs outside and stuff.
Yep.
I don't know, like cold water tubs.
Yeah.
But like the
very popular in Finland and Sweden.
Okay. And they sort of start their day that way.
They pair with the, they don't really have to do it in the dips. They just go and jump out in the water.
Right.
But it's kind of like the sauna cold plunge pairing.
Oh, yeah,
it's like a thing.
Yeah, you did.
And like I believe it's in Finland where the ratio of saunas to people, it's like a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1. It's that, like, they're so popular. And like business meetings are conducted in saunas.
So they get hot and then they get cold? Or do they do it the other way?
They get hot, then cold. Hot to like purge everything out of your system, and then cold to seal it all back up and like freshen up the body. I don't freaking know. I don't do this shit.
Okay, just curious. I wanted to know what you think though, because like the jury's out on, medically what these things can do. Some people claim they can cure depression and all sorts of things. And then the medical community sort of like, well, it might be a placebo. We don't really know. What do you think?
Okay, I do think that there are elements of this that do work. Like we do see that if you stimulate the vagus nerve with cold, that you can cause calming sensations. So it's very helpful for clients who are experiencing like high emotional reactivity. So like I'm having a panic attack, or I'm like, that kind of
like
crying
when you need to go out and have fresh air. Like, that's what that is, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, so if you take a cold pack and you put it right on your chest and you take some deep breaths with the cold pack there, it's something about stimulating that vagus nerve with the cold. In the same way, when you splash cold water on your face, and wasn't there something that we talked about with ducks and cold water and... There's something, and we had talked about it, how it's kind of that same reaction of splashing cold water on your face.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
So I think that there is a biological system in there for cold being a shock to the system that changes it like takes you out of whatever, if I am, some really helpful technique for somebody who's self-harming is to plunge your hand or whatever into cold water, and to use cold water to change the physiological state you're experiencing in a way that like it's like pulls the system out of that.
Well, and if the logic of the cutting or whatever the harm is, is that you get the chemical dopamine or whatever that feels pleasurable and soothing, then it would do that with a really cold.
Correct. Yes, it would. That's why we use that as a replacement, and it's like do that, and it's like that, that, and it's the same. It's a state change. It's like something. It's a shock to the system that then. Like, I just always imagine Cher slapping whoever it is, going, snap out of it.
Yeah.
It's like that. Like, whatever is happening, like Cher is inside of you is going, snap out of it. And then you're like, okay, I'm good. I think if you look at that and then take that and pair it with like a daily dunk into a cold plunge, that it's enough to kind of, what it really does? It forces you into the present.
Yeah. Well, and
it keeps you present. Oh,
in the New York Times,
I think that's a thing.
The article about these cold water communities or whatever they're called, one of the ladies said she had suffered, I think she had lost a child or something. Oh. And she was saying, like, when you're in the water, you can't think of anything besides how cold you are, and it's a break for her brain, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
And so anecdotally, I think we can all see why this would be beneficial, but I think the reluctance is from doctors who might say, okay, maybe it does help you at that moment, but to say it cures depression, that's a leap that they're not willing to say. But I mean, for these people,
I think it is something that, and I think we need to change how we talk about that it cures depression thing of like, I think it needs to be this helps the symptoms of depression.
Yeah. And that's
because
great.
That's all because these things are underlying and can be there and pop up throughout your lifetime. And to say like, and then what happens is if you think, oh, I'm cured, and then later all those feelings come back, it can be very hard to
like instead you could think of it as like a tool in your toolbox for when you experience those.
Yes. In the same, I kind of think the same way that that Michael Pollan talked about mushrooms in how they help somebody who has depression in the book, How to Change Your Mind, because he talked about how for some people they see a reduction in symptoms for about 6 months, but it might be something that you'd have to repeat. In the same way, you could see a reduction in symptoms in that day, but a cold plunge is not going to cure you of depression for, you have to do it, keep it up. Mm-hmm. In the same way, an exercise routine can cure you of depression. Mm-hmm. Anything that you're doing that normalizes the chemical balance in your brain is going to help.
Right.
Yeah.
To me, it seems
I will also
obvious.
say it makes your hair really great.
The cold water?
Oh.
Yeah.
I do a cold seal at the end of my shower.
Yeah.
It night and day difference, too.
Really? Night and day?
Night
okay, I'm gonna do that.
Day.
With frizz.
It seals the cuticle.
Yeah.
Because the cold water, like hot water, opens it up, and so cold water seals it.
Yeah.
And it will make it shiny. I do like a cold water dunk, like scrunch at the end. And
I'm going to do
really
that because I have heard that.
Yeah, it's that I am a big fan of.
I need all the help I can get over here. Okay, I read an article about the show Snapped.
Is that the one where women kill?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was so interesting because this one was in thecut.com or NY Mag, I think. Yeah. And it was about how this show, it's been on so long, and it was originally meant to be like, these are not...
This is a reminder. Take your meds.
Oh, my
Alexa's
God,
reminding me.
stop it.
Alexa, stop. She's going to remind me to take my meds.
God, that was great.
It's so funny. And I know that that's programmed, but it's at a time where I'd never have any sessions, but twice it's happened on the show. And then when I was talking to my supervisor, and there was a bunch of other therapists, and they all were like dying laughing. They were like, "Oh, that is the most therapist thing I've ever seen in my life." I'm like, and they were like, "Are you gonna fucking go take your meds or what?"
Right. That's like, a good point. I'm just sitting here like gonna keep talking.
I know. I'm like, oh.
Okay. So
I think they might be.
Okay, so originally Snapped was Sarah Sater Beds was meant to be like very unsympathetic women who quote snapped and sort of like were basically behaving in the way we think men do.
Yeah.
And they even said in the beginning, like, this is not sort of like the domestic violence, like, defense type of situations. These are actual, wicked people.
Yeah.
But, like, it's been on so long, and the bottom line is that women do not kill very often. And almost always when they do, it is because they feel like they have no other option.
I was like, that's like the premise for all of the ones I feel like I've seen.
Because now they've had to do that. And
Mike, there aren't enough female killers.
Yeah, instead
for
of just being like, the show's over, they're like, we need more killers.
How many fucking shows can we actually make about male killers?
Right.
Like, we have
There's
spin-offs.
a whole genre, right?
There's an entire genre.
Spin-offs. Right.
Like, I'm not kidding. They've taken the Charles Manson, and they made multiple spin-offs of,
right.
And we're like running out of material for.
Yeah, and so now they've been reduced to basically, what's the word, where they're exploiting domestic violence victims.
Yeah, they are.
And making them seem like cuckoo crazy when really it's like they're victims themselves.
I heard a story. I think I watched it on a show. I don't remember where I saw this, but it was a real story about a woman whose boyfriend was murdered and put in a oil barrel or oil drum or something like that. I don't know if it was her husband or boyfriend or something like that. But then, and it was like all the craziness that happened. He was like a serial killer. It was a whole thing. But then it like destroyed her life.
Oh, he's the killer.
No, he was a victim. Her boyfriend was one of the victims of this serial killer.
Of a serial killer, okay.
Then they turned it, like the media and everything, turned it into the media circus that, finding bodies in an oil drum would get turned into.
Yeah.
And her being the partner of a victim ruined her life. Like, she got, calls for interview, all this stuff, and like could never escape it, could never heal, could never do the things. She ended up, I don't know what I saw this on, but she was like being interviewed in what looked like the most rundown apartment, and like she's like, yep, I lost all my money, we lost our house, we like all this stuff because of what the media like did to the story of the victims afterwards. And then she was like left with nothing. Like they leave this like vacuum, and she's like, people are profiting off of this, people are writing books about this. God, where the fuck did I see that?
Yeah, that concerns me because, I do research on these guys, and like I do not want to perpetuate what I think happens sometimes when you have a profitable genre.
Yeah.
And then people just want to like bleed it dry. So, for lack of a better term.
Right.
No
well, I also thought it was funny that the magazine was in the cut. So it's like, wow, all the murder references.
Yeah. And they like, typically it's like the women are crazy, money hungry, or scorned. That was the thing. But then now it's like, oh, but a lot of them are also, by the way, victims of domestic and sexual abuse. So that's not great. Just something to think about if you're thinking about watching Snapped. And it's on the Oxygen Network, which is Oprah's network, which I also don't love, too.
I don't like that that's even a show.
No, I don't either.
Snapped also implies that, like, we all, like, and I know we do, like, that, like, and I've heard guys reference that and be like, oh, I don't want to be, like, Snapped. And, like, it's become, like, a thing that
even
people,
though 90% of murders are committed by men.
And I don't want to be like, oh, I don't want this to become, like, statistics.
Right.
That say you will kill, you are the perpetrator.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, fucking A.
Right. Like, they can still manage to make it like women are hysterical even when they're never the ones doing this.
Yes.
I don't love it. I'll tell you what I do love, though. Ritual vitamins and protein powder. Here's the thing. You know how you end up quitting taking your vitamins and quitting your protein shakes because they taste like crap? Well, you will not have that problem with Ritual. The vitamins smell and taste like mint, so you don't get that weirdness when you take them, or an upset stomach because they're time-released. And the protein powder is great because it's got this handcrafted vanilla flavor, like proper the good stuff. And it has a pea protein, sustainably grown, really yummy, and that way you'll want to keep taking it, and you'll stay on track and get the nutrients you need to do the work that you need to do. So why not shake up your Ritual to make trying something new less scary? Ritual offers a money-back guarantee if you're not 100% in love. Okay, what do you have to lose? Plus, our listeners get 10% off during your first 3 months. Just visit ritual.com/braincandy and add essential protein today. That's ritual.com/braincandy. This is a great idea for the new year. Just get on track. Do like one little habit every day. You're in business. Okay.
Women just aren't murderers like that.
Why do you think that is?
That is such a good question.
Like, is it socialization? We teach women to be compliant and submissive and sweet and nurturing? Or do you think that's just how we are?
It's so hard to
Or is it just
know.
testosterone?
I mean, I was one of the things that I wanted to talk about in the episode where I talked about the alpinist, that climber guy. One thing that stood out when his friends were talking they were talking about how he just has this like no fear and he just, pushes himself to the limit. There's definitely a male trait to, I'm all about, women can do the same things guys do, but men are definitely they have that testosterone does something to that 21 to 24-year-old or 18 to 24-year-old dude where it's just like this sense of invincibility. Mm-hmm. And, and I could see a biological advantage to that. It makes us push forward as a species and explore areas that we've never explored before. And, we need that. But man, I cannot relate. I was just there's this little sense of fear and danger that I think women have. It's the same thing that we discussed when we were talking about the skateboard documentary about women who skateboard, and they were talking about women skaters. There's a little bit of a hesitation there that's that male skaters don't have. But then women skaters are more fluid and it looks more, whatever. But
elegant and graceful.
Yes, but there's this thing that guys have that's just this testosterone. I just don't know what it is.
That kind of reminded me, I had just read this book. I have been talking about it over the last few months because I have read snippets, but I finally got to read the whole thing. It's called Mother of Invention. And I had mentioned the wheeled luggage and how men didn't want wheels on luggage and whatever. So, I wanted to read a couple things from it that were fun, but then also one main thing that I was, blown away by.
Oh, I can't wait.
We were talking about the invention of grocery carts and how, before, it was more specialized. You'd go to your butcher, you'd go to the vegetable. So then once there was, an actual grocery store where everything was, people weren't really used to buying a lot at once, so, a cart wasn't a thing. And so they invented the cart, but then nobody wanted to use it because it seemed like you were weak and that why would you need a cart? You're handicapped or something?
I had the same experience when the guy in Home Depot asked me if I needed a cart and I was carrying all the boxes. I was like, no, I'm fine. Can't you see my work boots and overalls?
No. Oh my God.
Can't you see my big dick energy? No, I don't need a fucking cart.
Sarah's part of the patriarchy problem.
Yes. But continue.
They had to hire models.
No.
To take the carts and walk around the grocery store and act like they were shopping to convince people it was okay.
If this isn't proof that monkey see, monkey do kind of thing, that we just need, we are so easily.
Yeah, even, when someone crosses the street during a don't walk, if one person does it, then more people do it.
Yes.
And the more well-dressed that person is, the more likely everyone is to do it, too.
What?
Yeah. We're so stupid.
Right? If a crazy homeless person, it looks like they're going to cross the street, I'm I'm not crossing the street. But, yes.
Yes.
Wow.
Okay, so
you're already blowing my mind with this.
Another, how, you often hear when you talk about the pay gap that, women tend to choose jobs that happen to be low pay, like teachers or nurses or secretaries or whatever.
Yeah.
But the truth is, those jobs only become low paying once women start doing them. So historically, secretaries, for instance, were men. That's why we have Secretary of State and all this stuff. They were men.
Uh-huh.
And then, when circumstances change, if men go off to war or whatever, and then women have to do something, then it becomes low paying.
Yes.
Because if a woman can do it, it's seen as not that valuable.
I feel like I heard the same thing about nursing, that the nursing has gone up. The pay scale has gone up now that men are.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not that women choose jobs.
I'd like to invite all the men to join the therapy field.
Right?
You guys would be great. Come here. The water's fine. Drive up the pay scale a little bit. Because I'm sick and tired of getting job offerings for $15 an hour. I'm not kidding. And then I go to Target and they say now offering 16. And I bet you don't need a master's degree to work at Target.
That's insane.
I'm not fucking kidding when I say it's $15 an hour. You have to have a master's degree, and this is the state of California.
That makes me sick.
Sick.
Okay. Even like the way we label things, like, you know how we think of the Bronze Age and the Iron Age. That's what they're called. But like, that's because those are like materials that people think of as masculine. But at the same time, they could have called it the Pottery Age or the Textiles Age. Right. But they didn't. And they were saying how like art, if a man does it, it can sell for like $86 million at an auction. But if a woman does it, it's like the tablecloth you get at the fucking fair. Right. Like the bazaar, the church 100%. Parking lot festival.
Yeah. What do they call it? Like, what do they call that kind of folk art?
Oh, yeah. Folk art. But if a guy does it, it's like Native American, indigenous. Then, okay, another thing is how like...
That's so true. There'll be like master beaters from South America who make these amazing tappers, which... Yes. Does sound like I did hear it as soon as you said it. I heard it as soon as you repeated it. Master beater. Okay. I'm still the person who's going to giggle when you say turn to page 69. So whatever. But yeah, and they still like, they're like, oh, this is folk art that is sold at the airport kind of thing. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so true. Yeah.
Another thing is like, when a man has a passion, let's say he's super into like music and buys a lot of vinyl records, and he goes out and buys them, it's like that's his interest in music. He like can't get enough of it. But when we go out and buy stuff, we love shopping. Right. So like we focus on what he buys. We focus on how
the act
shop.
Wow.
And, like, he buys a car. He has an interest in cars. He's not, like, addicted to spending like we are.
And if you bought a bag, you're addicted to spending. Wow.
Even though the resale value of a purse would be far more than a resale value of a car.
Correct.
So, we like I said, we, like, pathologize the interests of women or diminish them. And that is a problem. Okay, this is the main one that I was like, oh, my God, this is bonky. Okay.
Surprisingly, we don't murder more people.
Yeah, I'm in the mood. I'm just going to be on
I'm just saying, I'm going to be on Snap. I kind of want to murder somebody after hearing all this. That's just a joke. That is not a threat. There's no known target.
Okay, get this. So...
just the patriarchy.
Computers, that used to be a job. You could be a computer.
Yes, computer. Right. Yes.
But... because it was sort of like boring and rote and like you would just be doing the same easy equations constantly, it was a job that was mostly fit for women or disabled people or like the total dregs of society. That's who could be computers. And but then when they made a computer, like the first sort of basic one, they had to tell people what this was all about. And so they would talk about it as like, you know how we would say horsepower for a car? They would do like, this has like 10 girl hours.
No!
Yeah, like 10 girl years. A kilogirl.
No! I was like, I've seen Hidden Figures. I know about these. I was, you know how a joke is like really good if like the punchline surprised you and like you were expecting one thing, you get something else. This is that in a story. I was expecting you to be like something about, I had no fucking clue you were going to tell me that there was a word that we used. This is Now I understand why you made a face when we started telling me the story of like,
I have to steel myself for it. A kill a girl equals 1,000 hours of calculating. And then...
It's a horse path. Kill a girl!
When programming of the
Kill
computers...
a girl might be my new roller derby name.
Yeah. Kill a girl.
I've graduated from serial killer to kill a girl.
I like it.
That's fucking hilarious.
It's awesome. But so sad. Okay, so then as like computers improved and then they could do more complicated tasks, then guys were like the women were programming them. And now they had to be like, we need men to do this because this is actually like really complicated and great. So the women had to train the men who would become their bosses because the job became more prestigious. So then men had to do it. They did a campaign like, we need men.
Sick. Could you imagine training them? Mm-mm. And you talk about, you don't think there was some mansplaining going on in those training sessions?
Can you even?
Well,
actually.
Wait, where does a mansplainer get his water? From a well, actually.
Fuck it. Oh, burn it down. Let's go on Snap.
Take it. Oh.
Anyway, we have a guest today.
Yay. Is it a man?
We had her on the show actually before for her book, Hype. And she has a new book called The Ultimate Kid's Guide to Being Super Healthy, What You Need to Know About Nutrition, Exercise, Sleep, Hygiene, Stress, Screen Time, and more.
Yes.
It's really a fun, cute book that I kept going on to her about how, like, I kept learning things. It was embarrassing. Like, it's meant for kids, but, like, it was talking about digestion and sleep and what your brain does when you're looking at a screen, all kinds of stuff. It was really fun.
I think books with information that we tend to learn as adults because, like, we have no other option, that are written for children are the best way to learn concepts in new ways as adults and really, like, make them stick. Like, I love, like, self-help books and psychology books that are written for children. Because, like, it'll teach you. I love this.
Yeah.
This is what we need to teach kids.
She's a physician. She's a surgeon. I mean, she's amazing and so impressive. She's also a brainiac. She wore her Nerdy by Nature shirt to the interview, which is so cute.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. So we love Nina Shapiro. And I think you guys, if you have kids or know somebody, Ultimate Kid's Guide to Being Super Healthy is a gem and wonderful. And her book, Hype, is really good. It's about, like, exaggerated claims and myths and stuff that we all believe in.
Yep.
Anyway, welcome to the show, Nina. Oh, and happy holidays. Happy New Year. We'll be back.
Yes.
Don't worry. We're just taking a breather.
Just a little Christmas break.
Welcome, Nina.
All right. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I am psyched because I just finished your new book, The Ultimate Kid's Guide to Being Super Healthy. Listen, how come you never rest on your laurels? Like, you're nonstop.
Well, thanks for reading it. I oftentimes write because I feel like I need to. I feel like the information needs to get out there. And, when I'm working with kids all the time, which I do for a living, and especially, in this past year and a half with this crazy pandemic, I really felt that, kids are kind of getting the short shrift of all this. They know more than we think they know, but they're getting sort of little bits and pieces of information. They incorporate it. That makes them really stressed, rightly so, makes them really anxious. So let's give them the real information in words that they can understand, not sugarcoating anything, but just giving them the facts. And they want it.
It reminded me of even, like, I remember on Mr. Rogers, he would talk about how, like, kids can handle stuff. You just have to be honest and give them the scoop. And I think that's so true, but we always, like, end up condescending to them and just the old, like, because I said so.
Right.
Your book is like an antidote to that problem because, we're busy over here and we just think, like, just do it. Just eat your vegetables. Right. But you actually say, here's why.
Right.
And, like, I think I read that you had watched a documentary and you felt like there was some stuff kids needed to learn. I love a documentary. Isn't it funny how they get your wheels turning like that?
You do. I mean, it was literally that night. It was Fed Up that I was watching. And it was just sort of this aha light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, why can't we teach that to 8-year-olds or 6-year-olds? And, why wait until adulthood to understand how things work in our bodies?
Well, that was what was bonkers. I learned so much from your book.
Thank you.
For real, because we don't really learn like the details of why we ought to do what we ought to do.
No. I mean, even doctors, like we're not learning about how sleep works. I mean, there's not really a designated class in medical school to sleep science or, even stress. I mean, we'll learn little things here and there, but just, why is this? How does it work? And I think, especially for kids, we tend to discount things. So, I hear a lot in my office, like kids are scared. Certainly I'm a medical person, so they're going to, they should be scared of me. But then I sort of tease it apart. Okay, well, what are you scared of? What are you scared about? And, and then they usually have a list. And then we'll go through point by point. Well, I'm scared of needles. I'm scared of this. I'm scared of that. And then, they're usually different ages when kids are scared of different types of things. So, we can address it point by point instead of just saying, don't be scared. It's going to be fine. That's not helpful. That's not going to make them not scared if we say, don't be scared.
Yeah. Like whenever my kid got the vaccine, he hates needles.
Sure.
But then when we talked about it's kind of like cost benefit analysis when you're like, but here's the upside. Right, and he was down with that. And it's like, they get it, that it's a trade-off. It hurts for a little bit, but you avoid this worse outcome.
Yeah. And also to acknowledge, like, you know what? I don't like needles either. They hurt.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So they're like, because they don't think that we adults experience pain or fear or stress or worry. They just think it's for them. And so if you sort of put it on yourself too, and then they can look at it, wow, you're a human too. You actually, experience pain and fear. I think they'll feel better about it and not feel so sort of put upon that we're sort of doing all this stuff to them.
Yeah, and there is a rhyme and reason. Like, it's not just to torture them. Exactly. I really loved that you included a chapter on stress, because that's another thing we don't really think kids have to deal with.
Yeah.
And so you're really sort of honoring the fact that they're fully formed people.
Yes.
And how did you decide to do that? Why did you think that was important?
So, it was tricky because, I didn't want to make light of it because, some children really suffer from anxiety disorders. But I wanted to acknowledge that they have these feelings that are uncomfortable, and stress in children is not necessarily expressed or understood the same way it would be in an adult. It's very easy for us to say to our friends and family, I am so stressed. Mm-hmm. Children don't usually say that, but they are stressed. They may just be acting out. They may be bullying at school. They may be not getting along at home. They may be more withdrawn. So there are a lot of different ways, but I think if we recognize these behavior changes and acknowledge them and normalize them for kids. I think kids are oftentimes feeling that they should be happy all the time and they should be engaged and getting along with everybody and not having any issues. And they feel a lot of pressure to do so. But to say to them, listen, it's normal to feel this way, and maybe we can talk about it and see how you can approach it and deal with it and feel comfortable expressing your feelings, as opposed to just saying, oh, this is bad, so I shouldn't be sharing this and I should hide it, and maybe I can express it in other ways and act out in other ways. And it's unhealthy. And then it really just builds up until they're, teens, and then where are we?
Have you noticed sort of a shift at all amongst your patients in terms of that stress or anxiety manifesting physically?
Absolutely. I mean, for a while, I'm a surgeon, but for a while, and, it's still going on. I feel like I'm a psychiatrist at work because a lot of the issues I'm seeing for children are not physical. They're physical, but they're related to stress. So I see a lot of, pain, throat pain, ear pain, ringing in the ears, throat clearing, stuffiness that's not really anything. So a lot of the headaches. So I'm seeing so much stress in young kids. This could be as young as 3 or 4 up, and then very commonly in teenagers. They are so stressed, and, Zoom school, everything, back, re-entry. There's so much stress and anxiety, and they pick up on it at all. Even the kids that don't even understand the words, they can tell in adults, if the parents are stressed or the adults around them are stressed.
Yeah, because we like to rely on this idea that kids are resilient, which they can be, but as almost like a free pass to not focus on what they might be dealing with, right?
Yeah. And just move on and just sort of be a happy kid and let us do the worrying and don't mind us. We'll just stress for you. But they incorporate it a lot.
Well, I assume one of the ways that they might deal with it is through escape, which we all do, and the screens. And you include a lot about screen time. We as adults do a lot of hand-wringing about how much time is too much, whether it's harmful or not. How did you approach it? What was your sort of take?
So my take was, similar to, I don't like needles either. I think to first of all acknowledge that we like our screens too.
Yeah.
And adults, it's, I've caught myself, scrolling through Instagram, telling my kids to get off of their screens. Right. So, we're guilty of it as adults. So I think first to acknowledge, it's hard for me sometimes to put down my phone. It's hard for me to, turn, power down and, have a little downtime without a screen. So I think then kids can all of a sudden see that, wow, it's not just us being told what to do. But I think for kids, they should understand, first of all, the good that screens have been. They saved education for the last 18 months. As terrible as it was to be home on Zoom school, what if we didn't have that? Mm-hmm. That would have been, even more devastating. So there is a lot of good to screens. A lot of the games are very good. A lot of the communication is very good if it's done safely. But I think they do need to understand that their brains are growing, their brains are developing, and that the passivity of being on a screen and receiving information as opposed to reading or interacting with other people is so sort of stunting to the growth of their brains that I think, they need to hear that. And
when you talk about it, it's sort of like this is your brain on screens. How do you conceptualize that, even to adults? Because I don't think we know what screens are even doing to our brain. Like, how does that make sense?
I think we have to sort of do a little literal experiment. And, I talk about this in the book, like, have a timer and have your child go, and you can do this as well as an adult, go on your favorite site or go on your favorite game and, and then guess how long you were on for. And, everybody, major underestimation of how much time they're actually on. That was 3 minutes. No, that was 30 minutes. So, the concept of time just disappears. And again, this is for all of us, but children can learn about this, that they sort of lose track of time. They lose track of the world around them. They don't know what's going on. A perfect example is all, the horrible car accidents and, pedestrians getting hit by cars because they're on their screen. We are on our screens crossing the street. Mm-hmm. It's just, you tune out the world and there's a great world out there that we're really missing. We feel like we're missing if we're not on our screens, but we're actually missing when we are.
Yeah, that was cool in that section where you talked about like you would give the kids try this activity. So like they could go to the park with the screen and do an experiment of like what they notice with and without the phone. I think that's so cool because kids love doing crap like that. Like they love almost like to see if they can prove you wrong.
Right.
Sometimes.
Like I could bring a screen to a park?
Yeah.
Cool,
like I thought that was cool.
I may get in trouble for that.
No, that's good. Last time you were on Brain Candy, we were talking about your book Hype, which was tremendous and everyone should read. How many years ago was that? 30?
That was, 2018.
Okay. Yeah. How do you feel your job has changed or not since then in the medical field? Is it just the same?
Hype was for the general public. It's written for adults. General medical issues, myth busting as far as health fads and wellness. I think the major change has been COVID, as for everybody on the planet. It's really changed significantly. I would say mainly because for the first year and a half, I was seeing a lot of stress-related illness in children. Ear, nose, and throat stuff, but all stress-related, which is much more common in adults. The throat clearing and the reflux and the ear ringing, that's all adult stuff. And to see in young children was pretty upsetting. Now that people are out and about again, we are seeing respiratory illnesses with a vengeance. More so, I wear a mask obviously at work the entire time, but if I don't get some respiratory illness, I will be shocked, because every kid I'm seeing has like a goopy nose, a wet cough. They're all sort of back at it. Just with non-COVID, maybe COVID, colds and flus that we're seeing. So now it's sort of the extreme change from, what we'd ever seen before.
Well, and hype too was about these exaggerated claims and sort of myths and things. I feel like that's been such a big problem in the last 2 years with people, like all these doctors say this thing, but like my brother-in-law at the, Christmas dinner told me this other thing, and then they'll weigh them like equally or whatever.
Yes. Yeah.
Does that ever get frustrating to you?
It is beyond frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really frustrating because, I do try to be nice. I'm not
I do not.
A nice person at work, to patients, because, initially, when main thing has been vaccines. Obviously.
Yeah. What do you do to talk about it?
So initially, when the vaccines were first rolled out, I got mine on day 2 in this country.
I remember you tweeted, I would get one in my eyeball.
I would.
It's like, me too.
More. I've had 3 doses. I'll get 3 more, whatever it takes, wherever. At first I could understand that it was brand new and nobody knew, but, I was very vocal about, I got it and I'm, my family's getting it. So I trusted enough for myself and my family and my close friends. I would have, reasonable discussions with people. As time went on, it was a very clear demarcation with those who were not just sort of concerned and thinking about it and wanting information, but people that were just like, I'm not getting that jab or that, that crazy vaccine, that experimental therapy, that toxin, all these nonsense buzzwords.
Yeah.
So I, sometimes I'll get into it. It depends. Typically now I just, they just need to keep their mask on and they need to get tested. We have very strict rules in our hospital. It's stricter than Olive Garden. I'm sorry that, we won't do a procedure on anybody who hasn't had a test in the past 24 to 48 hours. No exceptions unless it's a life and death emergency. So that sort of gives us a little bit of a buffer in a hospital that if you're coming in for any sort of procedure, regardless of your vaccine status, you need to be tested. There've been a few outlier healthcare workers, including at our institution, who have refused to wear masks and refused to get the vaccine. They've made it to, they've become viral on social media.
Yeah.
But that's the, extreme minority. I think most of us are pretty.
Yeah. It's the noisiest, but it's not as big as they make it seem.
Yeah.
Yes, I really admire the way that instead of getting hung up on the ways in which you could be cynical and jaded, you're still trying to educate and inform and inspire people to take better care of themselves, including children now. And I really feel inspired by it myself because sometimes, it can bog you down and it can feel hopeless. So I appreciate what you're doing. One of the things that I was thinking about when I was reading this stress chapter was about how I do see it a little bit more, but I'm hoping it grows is maybe in schools, including like mindfulness practices and, just different like breathing stuff because they do focus so much on athletics, which is so important, exercise and stuff. But I wish they would do a little bit more with the mind as well. Do you see any of that?
Some of the schools around, certainly this is Los Angeles.
Yeah, man.
So, yoga starts here.
Right.
So I do know a lot of schools, even preschools.
That's so good.
Who do a little bit of yoga or mindfulness exercises or breathing exercises with the kids. And it's something that, to prevent it, you think of it as preventative also. You can't just do those kinds of breathing exercises when you're feeling anxious or stressed. It has to be sort of a regular basis so you have those tools to go to as opposed to just waiting until the moment. So thankfully, I think a lot of schools are incorporating it, and it takes 5 or 10 minutes. We're not talking about like 2 hours of, taking away from math time.
Yeah. No, I love it. You just create the habit a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So on Brain Candy, we always end up talking about poop for some reason. It's just what happens. And I noticed in your book, this isn't about poop, but it was about pee. What are you telling me? You said it's basically blood. What do you mean?
No. Okay. Yeah. So
you're like, what?
Let's just break it down.
Yeah.
You drink water. Okay. You drink a glass of water, goes into your stomach, right? Mm-hmm. Then it goes into your intestines, right? Then your blood vessels absorb some of the water. Right. And then some of the water goes into your poop. Right.
Right.
So, but some of your blood vessels go to something called your kidneys. Yeah. Right. So these kidneys, these little things, they look like little fists. The blood goes into the kidneys, and then the kidneys are like little coffee filters.
Yeah.
And they filter out all the crap from your blood. Well, not the crap, the pee.
Right.
And so that that filtered blood is urine, and that's what goes into your bladder, and that's what you pee out. So
that is amazing.
Filtered. So there should not be any blood cells. If there is, you probably have an infection or
trouble's brewing.
A whole thing. There's trouble. There should not be any white blood cells or red blood cells in your urine, but urine is filtered from your blood.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. A lot of things did. Just like what the heck, why fiber is important. That blew my mind.
Great.
And what a great tip you gave for people, kids especially, who are having trouble like learning how to swallow pills. What are you telling me about the ice cube? That is new information.
So I the medicine chapter was fun because my kids are actually pretty good at taking medicine. It hasn't been an issue, except for one of my kids when they were young, meaning like 18 months. It was one of those like spewing it out right in front of us. We tried to hide it in the bottle. Nothing worked. But for older kids, meaning like, 2, 3, 4 to 6 year olds, even older, if they have to take a liquid medicine, a lot of these medicines taste terrible. They're chalky, they're gross, and it's a high amount. Like sometimes it'll be like 2 tablespoons, and it's really, really nasty. So I give them some tips. So one thing is if you have to take it, you can freeze your taste buds.
Oh yeah, that's when right.
So like just suck on an ice cube or like an icy chips or ice pop in your mouth. And then when you take the medicine, it's kind of almost numb back there.
That's right. That blew my mind.
Cool, huh?
Yeah.
Swallowing the pills, that's how I learned to swallow a pill. I was really bad at swallowing a pill, even as a young adult. Yeah. So I used to hide it in a little piece of cheese or something like that.
Like a dog. I know. We all have our little tricks for stuff. It's like a mind over matter type thing. But I don't know. I just feel like I just read a book for elementary school kids, but I'm learning too. And that's why it's so fun to read with our kids. And like the illustrations that Nicole did, really cute too.
Thank you.
Aren't you excited?
Great. I love her. Yeah, she's great.
The whole thing, just such a great thing.
Yeah, I tried to sneak in, well, not sneak in, but, there's information in there that I know that a lot of adults don't know. And, that sort of empowers the adults too, because, when they're saying, just do this because it's good for you, or do this because I said so, or do this because you're annoying me. It gives them some information too, as to why they are unknowingly telling their kids to do all this stuff.
Yeah, it really is empowering. And I love that you don't talk down to kids. It's just like super fun and informative. I'm sure I asked you this last time you were here, but we'll do it again. What do you keep in the trunk of your car?
Oh my God, you did ask me that last time. Oh my God. And I'm like so bad. I always keep a couple copies of my book.
Yes, as you should.
Because you never know, right?
No.
You never know who you're going to meet. So I always have a couple copies of the Ultimate Kids Guide and Hype. You never know. I have water in my trunk. And, I'm so bad. I live in Southern California. I should have like an entire week's supply of earthquake kit.
Right, for real.
Kit. My trunk is like spotless.
Nice. I love that.
Well, yes, but I should probably have a little more safety.
I know, right? Do you need to troubleshoot? You need like a go bag for an earthquake. Something.
I should, but we have a cluttered house, so I think I like an uncluttered car.
Okay, balance. I get it.
Right.
Well, I hope everybody reads it. The Ultimate Kid's Guide to Being Super Healthy. Would make a great Christmas gift and just perfect for any family. Really well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm glad
Thanks for coming on the show and for wearing your Nerdy by Nature.
I have to get some more merch. I see I'm behind on the...
My gosh, we just won't quit with our merch.
I love it. I'm going to get some more.
Thank you so much.